You stay cool, R2. You're gonna sleep.
And we're live on the internet.
Hello, hello. You're listening to the Goggler podcast. Ian Bahir and Uma with you with another week of exciting and fun reviews. Today, we're going to be talking about Encanto, the 60th animated feature from Walt Disney Animation Studios. We're going to be talking about the Beatles Get Back on Disney Plus. And what was that? Oh, that was your beer. I was like, what is that noise? Did something break? And we're going to be talking about Hawkeye, yet another MCU Phase 4 series on Disney Plus. But first, before we get into it, let's talk some news. Ridley Scott is apparently very angry at millennials. So once again, we have another old Hollywood man shaking his finger at millennials.
Well, who was the last one?
Okay, well, Martin Scorsese wasn't really angry at millennials. He was just kind of angry at superhero films. That
He wasn't even angry. It was millennials were just being like, well, screw you and the Irishman. It's like, Marty don't care. Leave Marty alone. It's fine.
But yeah, so Ridley Scott, in an interview, was it with Mark Maron? I think it was with Mark Maron.
Yeah,
right?
Mark Maron, yeah.
Yes.
And he was talking about how the duel didn't do too well. And he said that, you know, he was very impressed with the job that Disney had done because he was worried after the merger with Fox whether they were going to let this one fall through the cracks. But he said, no, the studio did a great job promoting the movie. It's just that, you know, millennials on their damn phones didn't go to the cinemas.
You know why he was saying Disney did such a great job? Because they were holding his script for all the Alien movies he wants to make over a shredder behind the camera, and it's like, you say right.
When does the Blade Runner TV series?
When does any film director say, "Oh, the marketing was so good"?
So good. They did such a great job. Those trailers, chef's kiss. I don't know. Maybe it had to do with the fact that The Duel is a period piece about sexual politics, and starring not the fun versions of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
They've got Tiger King, Matt Damon, or is it Tiger? It's actually Tiger King, Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck. They both look like different versions of the Tiger King, right? I've seen
that fantastic hair.
There's a character poster, and Ben Affleck has a face you want to just he has a face you want to punch, repeat, like you want to do that American History X thing on him. He looks like such a putz. He looks like such an ass.
Well, good job too, because he's like the bad guy, right? I haven't seen the movie yet.
I guess so. I don't know. It's not been given in. But one of the key things of this is he said the millennian. He didn't call them millennials.
Yeah.
He called them millennium. They do not ever want to be taught anything unless you are told it on the cell phone.
Unless it's on the TikToks. That's where all the music and the knowledge happens on the TikToks.
I should have put in the old man yells a cloud gif. I forgot about that.
I don't know. It's an easy go-to, right? To kind of blame millennials when no one goes to see a movie or it underperforms at the box office or your TV show gets canceled. I don't know. It could be.
Millennials are in their 30s, man. It's like they were staying at home making sure their kids didn't get COVID, or else they were going on dates because they've been locked up for 2 years, and they weren't. Yours is not a date movie because it's focused on rape. It's like, well, I bring her to the rape movie for a date. That'll go great. No, this is. It's unfortunate, but you're better off to. This is like what happens when Galadriel doesn't go to the east and remain Galadriel. You go fucking Ridley Scott and the kids. Just leave it. Just wait for the Netflix release, and then you'll be number one all around the world or whatever. But
it's also a problem with expectation, right? In the sense that I don't think there's any universe when anyone thought that The Duel was going to make $500 million. It's a talky period piece. It's going to be for a niche audience. It may make some headway in award season, maybe, but it's that kind of film, right? It's not.
Yeah.
He also lives in a weird world where Prometheus and Alien Covenant were good ideas.
Yeah.
No, but I think to go back to what Uma was just talking about, I think what was he expecting? I think that was the question, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, but like my 18-year-old nephew is not going to go watch this. And you know, it's not that kind of movie.
They're not even in millennial 18, 19. Are they? They're post millennials. They're Gen.
Yeah, No, I know, but like my point is
Gen
that
Z, why?
people are just not going to go. It's a hard sell. This movie,
Yeah.
at the end of it, it's a hard sell. This is for the cinema people,
Yeah,
right?
but
But I think
this is for the audience on Twitter who's always talking about how good the Kingdom of Heaven director's cut is.
I am one of those people. It's because you haven't seen the director's cut, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the magic was. That's where the magic was.
I still haven't.
Yeah.
I keep meaning to, but
Yeah.
no.
I think I have.
Hey, but you know what the bigger problem is? The bigger problem is that this movie cost $100 million.
I mean, of course it does. I mean, you've got Adam Driver, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Jodie Comer,
Yeah.
period piece,
Armor,
yeah,
horses.
Armor, yeah.
Is there a siege at one point? There is.
COVID,
Yeah, COVID. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, of course it's going to cost 100 million. And just,
Meanwhile, in the
it's gonna
old
make
days,
the
this
money.
would have been a mid-budget, maybe 40, 50 million, even with those kind of stars, or even with the A-listers of the time, because I feel like there is that problem that all these directors in Hollywood are struggling with, where even what should be a mid-budget movie gets inflated and gets
Maybe.
kind of bloated, and then it
No,
ends up being this.
And here's the thing, right? I think we're making easy, wild judgments based on this film that we haven't seen. But I think, like Ian said, I think at some point there is like a big sort of battle siege type thing. And it's the kind of thing where when you add that into your movie, you're hoping for that bit to bring back money, right? Those
Yeah.
sequences itself may have cost 5, 10, 15 million, and you're hoping to get back 50 from having those moments. But if your movie in itself is a hard sell, adding a massive war sequence is not going to change that. People are not going to go watch this movie because there's one big siege battle.
Yeah.
And that's not the sell, right? It shouldn't have been the sell.
Yeah,
No.
people
And
people aren't going to go see this movie because they love The Counselor. Also,
No.
that was Ridley Scott as well, right?
Yeah.
So another one.
I'm waiting. I'm still waiting to see the movie because
Yeah.
it's Damon and Affleck writing a film for the first time since Good Will Hunting.
Right, bits of the film.
Oh, was it bits of the
they-
film? I
Apparently,
think
apparently
yeah.
they wrote a lot of their bits. I think they have the script from somewhere else. I've seen this.
Okay.
That's said a couple of places
Oh.
as well.
Okay, but yeah, and it's them together in a film since Good Will Hunting as well. So I quite like the dynamic together. So I want to see what that's like now after all these years.
I mean,
And I really
this was-
enjoy Jodie Comer. So far,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed everything she's in. So yeah,
I mean, this was definitely a film that I would have gone to go and see, but I think to just lay it at the feet of people, just blame people for not coming out to watch a period drama piece about rape as they're coming out of COVID, I think it's not really the feel-good movie that
autumn.
people are hoping for. Yeah.
yeah.
But he could also be engaging in what the video game PR firms always do, which is that the last Call of Duty with all those special effects, that was shit compared to what we have now. And
Right.
he needs to move the needle along, or the news cycle along, because the House of Gucci is getting mixed reviews.
Oh, right.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
I haven't read anything about.
I've seen. I think mixed reviews is the whole thing. Like, we're used to critical consensus on a couple of things. There has been.
Yeah.
Next week's movie will be very much seems to be splitting people down the middle as well. But House of Gucci, I've seen people say it's fantastic, and I've seen people say it's a mess. So what better way to get the news back on your side than throwing your previous movie under the bus? Because remember, last week's podcast was shit, but this week's podcast it's gonna be one for the records.
Yeah.
Like, just delicious cake is what it is.
It's this episode that we truly find our voice.
Also, next week's movie, those guys are just idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, moving on.
We had some beautiful segues earlier when we were talking about expectations. So I'll just say that we had a segues about expectations because it's all about expectations.
It is all about expectations, and No Time to Die is on track to be the biggest Hollywood movie of 2021. It's outpacing even Fast 9, which in some ways is a kind of indication for the constant delays of the film. It's also, I think, of all the things that have been COVID delayed, because Fast 9 came out much earlier. No Time to Die was one of the few things that was released like within a month and a half across the world. I think it dropped September 30th, November 25th,
UK,
so about
right?
2 months
Yeah.
between UK drop and Malaysia drop. And so it had effectively, I guess, as close to a global release as you can get during a pandemic. and of all the movies that have done that, Eternals, it's probably the most action packed and it's like it's got the most appeal for a cinema going audience, I think.
Yeah.
For an MCU movie, The Eternals is a bit of a slow burn, so it doesn't have the same kind of thrills that this one has. So yes, that decision vindicated. However, apparently, it's still not going to make its money back.
Well, I mean, in defense of the movie, I think that's what outside analysts are saying, because the internal PR marketing guys are saying, "Oh no, we'll make profit. The movie will make bank and all that stuff," which is weird because for your internal marketing / PR guys to say it will make a profit, you guys
They never
have
say
to
that.
really, usually because they never say that, because that means you have it on paper somewhere saying that you'll make a profit, which means
you
you'll
got to
have to
pay
residuals.
Yeah, everyone who wants their
residuals later. Yeah, so I'm surprised they didn't just run with it and say, yeah, we're making a loss. I'm sorry, nobody's going to get points after.
It was a few months ago we did have that story where it was talking about the amount of interest they were racking up, because it was all bonds, right? It wasn't bank loans, they were bonds that were taken out for the guarantees. I don't know, math is hard. Yeah, there was bonds on bonds, stocks and bonds, and
yeah.
Universal they owe Universal Exports a lot of money for some reason, and that was always going to be, every week that delayed was adding like 2 million? It was something.
It was something stupid.
Yeah.
So,
but not only that, it was also the initial delays were, or the initial release dates that were announced were somewhat confirmed. So they started the marketing machine again, and then they pulled it to a stop, right? So, for example, I remember the Omega billboard being up on one of our highways. I think it was LDP or somewhere. It was up for months, and I don't know how much Omega paid to keep that thing up. It's finally gone because they probably went, fuck, this movie's never coming out.
I know, but I think it's also just like, I don't want to spend any more money on it. You know, it's that there's I think Ian talks about this quite a bit. There's Hollywood accounting, right? There's Hollywood accounting about what is considered profit and not profit, and what is part of the budget, what isn't part of the budget. Because even in that, I think it was a Variety report, even in the Variety report, they would say, oh, it's $100 million budget, but plus another $100 million for marketing.
I think it was 200 was it for budget, was it?
Was it?
I think it was. 100 million gets you a Terminator 2 in 1989 money.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure.
Or 1985 money. So I think it was higher than that. And
right.
Back when 100 million was a lot of money.
Meant something, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's that thing of like, what is considered, what is part of first, who gets first take, and then where is that money? Where does that money go? And it's just a lot of real financial
Hollywood accounting. That's why they call it Hollywood accounting.
It's Hollywood accounting, right? Yeah. And
but
I think
also,
the classic example being Ed Solomon still Man in Black didn't make any money.
yes.
Yeah.
And the reasoning for his residual check being nothing.
Yeah.
He posts that on Twitter regularly.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
he's posted. He's like, look how much money I've made from Men in Black. Didn't make a profit.
but also with something like No Time to Die, all of their takings kind of make sense as to why they decided to drop it on VOD so soon. We still don't know what the deal is with Amazon, because it's available to buy on VOD on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But they own the MGM catalog now, so we don't know when we don't know what the deal is between them and the Broccolis as to when they can drop a new Bond movie after its theatrical run, right? I don't think they've announced that either.
I mean, they haven't even, did they ever announce if
they haven't added the back catalog?
Yeah.
Not yet.
It's still only on Astro, is it? That Astro deal is holding him up, is it?
Feels like it, right? That Astro channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I think there are some random ones you can find on Netflix in certain regions.
In Netflix?
It's weird.
There were some on, I do remember there were some on
HBO.
Amazon, but I couldn't find the one. It wasn't
okay.
any of the ones I wanted to watch at the time. I can't remember what the deal was. They did appear at some point, but I can't remember if they're still on there now.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's 700 million and it's sitting at the moment. And
I mean,
it seems like, that benchmark, it's interesting, right? 2 years ago, that was a success, but not really. because it was the 1.2, 1.5 billion movies.
Yeah.
Those were the biggest movies of the year. So it'll be interesting to
Yeah.
see 2022, 2023, whether they go back to those kind of benchmarkings, the ridiculous
Yeah.
numbers that Hollywood was used to for a while.
But like even at 700 million, where it only opens today, well, on Thursday
Here. Yeah. What about
Yeah,
China?
so-
Is it open in China yet?
I think there's a couple of regions left, right? I'm sure there's a couple of regions left that have
I
not
think
opened.
Bond has opened in China. I think Eternals didn't because I think they don't like Chloe Zhao, maybe. I
Right.
don't know.
The other thing, though, as well, is that, you know, while this is great and all, they say they're making money, Hollywood has been begging poverty for the last decade as well. It's like since...
That's true. Yeah.
Was it one of the
Yeah.
Transformers? Like, oh, the box office has been down every year. Like, the headline is, oh, it's down on last year. It's like, yes, show business. It's a business. Things ebb
Yeah.
and flow. It's
Slow. Yes.
stupid capitalist. It doesn't, the graph doesn't always, that goes the other way.
W curve.
Yeah, it goes up and down, up and down. So there is that
Yeah.
element to it where it has been like, oh, this is a bump. Like you see the headlines, and because we're not a news site, we don't keep track. But it is like, wait, they're saying this is the best. What was it? Best October opening of all time. It's like, wasn't this the worst, year for money like a
Yeah.
week ago?
They
What's-
don't want you to think about the headlines from 3 weeks ago, man. It's always new. Just keep
That's
up
the
with
plan.
it. Just today, whatever's out 5 minutes from now is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see how it does. Like you said, Bahid, it opens this week in Malaysia. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it opens almost 2.5 weeks after the VOD release. So I know a lot of people, at least the ones we've been talking to online as well, have been waiting and holding out to watch in cinemas.
Yeah.
And I was looking online earlier because I was going to buy tickets for my mum to go and watch No Time to Die. And a lot of the weekend seats
Yeah.
are sold out and pretty full. So that's a good
Yeah.
sign.
but also
a lot of
half,
IMAX
but
stuff
also
is
half
gone,
half capacity.
but also half capacity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're
I'm
showing
going
on a
this
lot
weekend.
more. They're showing
What
on a
now?
lot more screens as well, though.
Yeah.
What's up here?
Me and my entire family is going this weekend.
Have you got
All
tickets?
7 of us. Yeah, my mom's treating us, so we're going to the Aurum. Woo! Woo! Fancy. So it's just like there's gonna be 7 of us there, and I suspect couple of us will do rewatch. But yeah, I think a lot of people have been waiting out for it. Admittedly, I haven't seen as many people respond to Bond being with having seen it, right? They're just like looking forward to it, can't wait for it to come out.
Oh, I've seen
that's
loads of people saying it's great before there's no legal way for them
Oh,
to see
really?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're on different channels. Mike.
we swim in different circles.
Yeah.
So No Time to Die is in cinemas now. You can check out our review on the site. You can also check out the podcast where we talk about the movie. Spoilers, we really liked it. We highly recommend going to watch it. A couple of people have seen it on Wednesday because they had sneak peeks, and we recommended watching it on IMAX, and they really enjoyed the IMAX experience as well because some of the action scenes, it's worth it, right? Yeah, it's worth the extra dollars. So go check it out in cinemas. Let's talk reviews. We're gonna kick things off today with Encanto.
Hey.
I know.
Hey.
We went. Bahir and I went to the premiere, which was co-hosted by the Colombian Embassy,
Oh.
and they gave us fans.
Was the aircon broke?
No.
No. It was fine. Yeah, it worked out.
fine.
Yeah.
No cocaine in the goodie bag.
Oh.
There was cookies though, but we didn't.
I think the Cocaine Embassy is on their way now to take back their fan.
Did you just say the cocaine embassy, dude?
Colombian Embassy, sorry.
Oh, I thought you said yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Wholesome Disney entertainment.
Wholesome Disney entertainment. Encanto is the 60th. That's right, the 60th animated feature from Walt Disney Animation Studios, and it is obviously set in Colombia, and the story follows Mirabel, who is the only member of the Madrigal family without special powers. So the Madrigal family was granted this magical candle that saved their family and their lives, and it also granted all the immediate members of the family special abilities.
No, it didn't. It granted the next generations of the family.
The next
special thing.
generation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
So
if you're
grandma doesn't have powers.
if you're puzzled about where that candle came from and everything else, just put that out of your mind completely because you'll never find out.
No, doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. Moving
it
on.
Also gave them a magical house
Yeah.
that can like communicate through tiles, which is kind of cool. And things start to go a little shitty when Mirabelle begins to see cracks in the architecture. What does it mean?
Millennials start fucking things up again.
Exactly. What does it mean? Is it the end of magic? Is it the end of the family? Well, we find out. It's got original songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I enjoyed it. I had a blast. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think there are certain things that I really liked about the film. I think you mentioned one of this in your review, Ian, on the site. You talk about how there wasn't a villain. And for me, that was the thing I kind of enjoyed most about the movie, the fact that it didn't go down that traditional path. And it really was about a family who are kind of struggling to discover who they are after this second and third generation.
And it's
and
not
that's
like
essentially the plot. Right?
Yeah, and it's not like there's an evil crone grandmother who's forcing everyone to do things. It's like
exactly.
You're watching this movie and it's like, okay, there's an element of you're thinking it's chosen one prophecy. I mentioned this in my review as well, but there isn't. She's not the chosen one because she's no Mazzy. No, it's not like, she's got an idea that something's going on and she's desperate to fix it because that would be her gift. But there is a prophecy involved, and it's 50-50 whether she fixes things or breaks them completely. And the movie's not taking any sides on it until the very end. And you're like, there's no villain. They seem happy? There doesn't seem to be any problems with the family, right?
Right.
No. And then the investigation, then Columbo starts investigating, and there's one more thinging each member of the family, and you start finding out all these other things. And it's right. I really enjoyed that element of the story. It's a very different type of story that they've done, because the trailers have showed some of the scenes which are from Flights of Fancy within songs, as if it's more of a quest narrative, and they're not. That's not what this is at all.
No, not at all.
It's amazing how much of a COVID movie it is, because they literally barely leave the house.
But also, I found that it became very true to how families work, right? The way Mirabelle discovers these family secrets and these things that they don't talk about, and Bruno, and everything else, it was incredibly relatable in the way it was written. So there is no guy who suddenly shows up going, I'm going to steal the candle and all of your magic. And there's none of that. And
it's not like you need to go to a mountaintop and slaughter 11 magic tomatoes and then you will get the candle. Like there's something deeper than that, and it's also not specific enough to say this is exactly the problem, because
this is the one thing you need to do.
Because that's families. It's complicated.
Which I thought was an incredibly bold and brave take for a 90-minute animation that is primarily targeted towards kids.
And it happens before you realize it. You're like, what? Wait, what? This?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing that I thought was really bold and brave in this kind of animation was the fact that, you know how Disney, actually all animated films, right? They focus on one or two characters because, hey, kids have short attention span, so we need to create two heroes. But here they're juggling essentially 5-10 characters at a time. Sure, Mirabelle's the protagonist, but there's actually a deep dive onto a lot of these characters. Bruno, Antonio, Felix, it's all there. And
wait, which was Felix?
Felix is
the shapeshifter.
Oh, okay. That's why he's hard to spot, because he's
Also, there's that guy who shapeshifts.
Yeah,
which doesn't help either. Yeah.
And I thought that was impressive as well, the way they juggled all of these characters, because that made it feel more like this real extended family.
And I think that's the again, going back to your review, Ian, you're right. After a very messy start, like that first song felt a little it felt forced.
It felt right. Like, we talked before about I like my time to song going into musical. You can't if you can't start straight away, but you can't leave it too long. You gotta it's gotta have that right time. It's like time to crate in a first person shooter. How long it is until you see your first crate. This is the same. It's got to be like, and it's straight in your face. It's like what whose power is what now? She makes flowers. She's hearing. Who makes decisions? I mean, they do explain some of that stuff later, and there's. The power stuff raises more questions than it answers.
No, but I think, and what just to double down on what you guys are saying, I like the fact that there isn't a deep dive into the powers. It's just, this is what you've been bestowed on by the candles, and move on, right? And I think, sure, like you said, there's some people have a certain affinity to things, and they get that kind of stuff, but generally you just sort of accept it and move on. I like that. I like that there isn't this big character thing about, oh, this person is powerful because she is this, then that. For me, I thought it was fine. I thought it was fun. I agree, but
You're not allowed to say that word.
Huh?
You're not allowed to say the 4-letter F word.
I know. I thought this was fun, but I wish the music was more Colombian in influence. I think there's a last song felt very much of the design and the location and all that, but the others felt a little too poppy, and I thought they kind of missed the boat a little bit.
Yeah, that's the same. In my review as well, like, what was your favorite song? Can you hum it right now?
No.
I was going to say there is not a single song that stood out for me except for "We Don't Talk About Bruno." No. I just like the no bit.
Even then, I can't pick it up. We saw it yesterday.
It was you saw it yesterday. I saw it a week ago, and it was like the one I writing the review afterwards was tricky because the soundtrack wasn't available on Spotify yet, which I would do when I was like coming out of the movie because you don't always catch the names of the songs in the credits or whatever. And it was the da 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 da. Whoa! It was the Pressure song.
Yeah.
That one's the one that stood out to me a lot. That's Luisa's song, which is we should say the cast. The Luisa is Jessica Darrow, who's in loads of things as well. I mean, I didn't know that was a Diana
Guerrero is in there.
Diana Guerrero from the Doom Patrol's in this, and Stephanie Beatriz is great as I've forgotten her name already. The daughter,
and
Mirabelle.
And she completely stands out, right? In the sense that she's not doing her Brooklyn Nine-Nine bit.
But the thing is, the Brooklyn Nine-Nine thing is one thing she did that took off. Because if you go back and watch Modern Family, she's...
oh, really?
What's her name? Hey, Jay! That lady, her husband. Her sister is...
Yeah.
Is this actress. And she's like the shy mouse until she decides to take over and gets a glam upgrade. Yeah.
But yeah,
she's
if
a
you
chameleon.
know her from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I mean... she is unrecognizable, which is always fantastic.
Yeah, in this, the character looks like there's a Jennifer Grey era of Jennifer Grey from Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Dirty Dancing mixed with is it Jennifer Grey I'm thinking of? Yeah, mixed with Gloria Estefan, the Miami Sound Machine.
Yep. Fantastic.
I also want to say, speaking of hair, the animation on the hair is amazing.
Yeah, it's great hair tech.
The close-ups on Antonio when he goes into his room and there's all that light, the way it sort of it's not just flat light on the hair. You almost can see the individual strands. You can almost see the different shades in each strand of hair. It's great. They really locked that down.
It was so good, Ian, that at that moment, Bahe leans over across two chairs because of social distancing and goes, "Check out the hair."
I just thought I was blown away by the hair. I thought that tech was crazy good. Yeah.
The hair tech was off the hook.
The hair tech was off the hook. Yeah.
So here's the thing.
We can't talk about
My question for you is just going back to the music, right? Is it a good thing or a bad thing that there isn't that one song that stood out? And I say this because I felt all of the music fit perfectly with the film. Like as I was watching the movie,
in the moment,
nothing felt out of place at the moment. And so I enjoyed all of the music in the movie. But when I stepped out of the cinema, I had the same reaction you did, and I was like, wait, what's this? Like usually I've got one banger stuck in my head, right?
Yeah.
And so is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I don't know. Like, while you're watching the movie, it's great.
Yeah, I can still remember like walking into Frozen thinking like, I'll go see this because I've got to write about it. But this Disney bullshit. And then
after that you were like,
let it go. Totally. And I forgot. I thought Ollie, the memory's frazzled these days. But I was like, all I remembered of Vivo was that the monkey was annoying in the first song and doing all the Lin-Manuel Miranda tics.
Yeah.
I had to go read my review. It was my review I had to go reread. And it was like, oh, hang on, wait, the rest of the movie was utterly heartbreaking.
That's right. You liked the rest of the film.
And then I listened to one more song and I was like, I listened to that on Spotify again. And I was like, oh God, no, that's a song stands completely on its own and like it's insane and blows you away. And then the other one that I won't bring up because if to do will grant the earworm entry back into my head again, but it's the one you don't want to remember. But even the fact that it's that earwormy and that annoying, it's something.
It's something. Yeah.
It's something, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I think it's sort of like my same complaint with Vivo as well, and it's they're both Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Let's just say before you go there, let's just say we don't hate Latin music or Latin people. Just 100%
Oh
clear
no,
on
but
that.
I think my issue is that it wasn't Latin enough. I think with Vivo they leaned too much into that pop techno stuff, and with this one they went pop. I think right until maybe the last song, the one with the grandmother, the abuela, was only the real only the true Colombian style traditional music, and I wish they had done a bit more of that.
And that's one thing I have seen. Like so there has been a campaign, but a lot of writers who, Colombian or South American writers who work for big outlets in the US, entertainment outlets, have been tweeting saying, here's the thread of actually Colombian or Latin American writers who, if you want to get them to review the movie, to get there, we don't have the budget, so that's fine, we're okay. This is the best you can get from us. But there was also people saying it's not, and I hinted this in my review with the Disney's Eye of Sauron, it's not Colombian enough, maybe. I haven't seen, I don't know, because unfortunately, I don't know enough about Colombian culture. It just hasn't come up. So there is that element to it where, like, if it had gone further, maybe it would have stuck out more in our minds.
Right,
You know what I mean? It
right.
does.
Yeah.
It's hard to see this as different from. I don't want to say different from Coco. One of the musicians involved is the same as with Coco, but it's like the house, everything else. I don't know what's Colombian about it. You know what I mean? And it does come down to the fact that sorry, just to finish, it is a little bit like the directors are Jared Bush and Brian Howard, who were like the Zootopia guys and Tangled.
And Charisse Castro-Smith, who was the co-director.
Yeah, co-director, yeah. So there's that element to it.
I mean, when I was reading some of the behind-the-scenes stuff about this movie in particular, I was looking at, I think the house is very Colombian. Looking at the production design, and there was articles online which had like stills comparing it to Colombian houses and all that stuff, and the way the kitchens are laid out, etc. I mean, so I think there was a lot of attention to detail that went into that. But with regards to the music, I think we're just seeing a Lin-Manuel joint, like it was with Vivo, and there are some Colombian instruments.
I think it's the accordion. I think I saw an interview with him talking about there's a lot more accordion, and I saw someone else talk about the actual point where the musician list is longer almost than the animator list at the end of the credits. So I think there is more of an accordion. Is it accordion? I think I'm saying accordion. There's no other accordion. Right?
Yeah.
The big one, not the small one, not the small box one, the big box one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are a lot more into Colombia. So apparently that is an element to it.
But I think it's still rooted very much in his sensibilities. And I think whatever we see that is a Lin-Manuel joint is going to be, it's
rhyming the same
Jersey,
word over and over
Brooklyn,
again.
New York, Colombia, Latin America. It's all of these influences kind of blended together, right? However, that said, yet again, what you said in your review, I felt was very, very true. Hearing female voices sing his songs made it sound different to me.
Yeah.
It was something I didn't like. You of course, there are women singing songs in Hamilton, but these are solos written for female characters.
Also, he's right there. He's standing beside them.
yes, and it's pretty tremendous. And I think that it's interesting because it actually plays very differently and it sounds very different as well.
Yeah.
Which is something I quite enjoyed about the music too.
But I think we thought that first song in Vivo was like all his ticks were in one song, and it's like
everything was in one.
It's getting so that we gotta have to have a list that just updated every movie that comes out, because there is when I went back and listened to Moana and Vivo to figure out what the songs were that stood out for me so much for them, because some of them reprise throughout the movie, so you're never sure the exact name of them. And it was like, he does rhyme this. He does just sometimes give up on the lyrics. It's like, this is the family madrigal, la la la, madrigal. We're in the house, madrigal. And he'll save one for Mirabelle, and then it's back to madrigal again. And he did the exact same thing in Moana, where it was like, I can't wait to get off this island. Everyone knows what they're doing on this island, but soon I'm going to get off this island. It's like, dude, come on.
Did he write all the songs in Moana? I thought he only wrote a few.
I'm not sure.
Did he write them all? Because I mean, in Moana was a perfect example of songs that you can clearly see, like Lin-Manuel Miranda's songs in Moana, right? The I'm Shiny,
You're Welcome.
You're Welcome.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And I think it's a great song.
I think having The Rock do it removes some of it, because The Rock isn't going to do that rappy thing that Lin-Manuel loves to do.
True. Yeah. But I think with this one, and for me, that's almost always the second test with a Disney film. Did you have fun watching it? Okay, cool, pass. The second one, are there any memorable songs? Because that's kind of what you take. That's kind of what I want to take away from a Disney animated feature. It's that there are songs that get onto my Disney animated feature playlist.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, it just doesn't. I can't think of any. I mean, I'm gonna want to re-listen to the soundtrack, but it just sort of falls a little flat. Even when I was watching the film, it was just these songs fit the moment, but they don't feel like it doesn't feel like there's something I'm going to want to listen to tomorrow or the day after.
Whereas just while you were saying that, I was thinking about the How Far I Go song from Moana, and I got goosebumps just thinking about the song.
Yeah.
That, Let It Go. I'm trying to think what other... This is the 60th one. What was the last?
See, I'm still a very big fan. I'm still a very big fan of Into the Unknown from Frozen 2.
Oh God, yeah,
great.
That was on my jogging playlist for a while until I started having heart palpitations in the middle of the second chorus.
For me, it's also that song. I can't remember it. The one in from Frozen 2 where what's his name sings with all the reindeers.
Oh, sings the Air Supply version of the song. Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's great.
Alone in the Woods.
Is it Alone in the Woods?
Yeah, that's the one that the guy from the Rivers Cuomo from Weezer sings over the end credits, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, so that's the test, right? Like, I want the Moana vinyl. I want the Frozen 2 vinyl. I'm not sure I want this one.
Wow.
Because I can't picture it. Yeah.
That's like what's the opposite? What's the opposite of the Nick Cage high praise gif? Because that's like a vinyl you don't want is like that rare thing.
We just need a shaky head gif.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there are quite a few.
It's just a broken record, like literally broken in two.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Also, but the movie's fun.
Yeah, I was going to say no, but here's the thing. I mean, we're nitpicking at some of the stuff, but overall, Encanto is an incredibly fun time at the cinema, and it's a real pity that you can't go watch it with your kids because unvaccinated people can't go into the cinemas yet, and kids haven't been fully vaccinated yet. So that's the problem. However, that said, we forgot one thing. John Leguizamo, fuck yeah. The man's a genius.
I was going to say we can't talk about Bruno, but we have to talk about Bruno.
We have to talk about Bruno.
That was
he
high
shows
point.
up only halfway through the movie, but he is an absolute high point. He hits every joke.
Yeah,
everything lands.
And here's the thing: it's not just the John Leguizamo jokes, but there was such emotion in his appearance as well, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's not. He isn't just the funny uncle that comes in halfway through the film. There's an emotional weight that he brings to it, while also being funny.
Yeah,
and that for me is a credit to the writing. While the songs may not have stood out, I think the pacing of the film and the way they unfurl the plot, because there was no big villain, I was genuinely sitting there going, wait, how is this going to, what's going to happen? How is this going to play out? It wasn't, we do this so much. We kind of know all the beats when you're watching, a Minion movie or a Despicable Me movie. You know exactly how it's going to play out, when the bad guy's going to happen, how it's going to end, all of that. And for this one, I was questioning myself as to, oh, that was surprising. Oh, that was cool. Yeah. And that doesn't happen often.
And I think the trailer really does a good job of throwing you off, right? I think like Ian mentioned earlier. Yeah, because Ian mentioned earlier about how the trailer really makes it feel like a quest movie where Mirabelle goes on this journey.
Also, the vast majority of stuff in the trailer is from the first 10 minutes of the movie.
It's from the first, it's fairly early on. And I think that really throws you for a loop, because as I was watching, I remember thinking to myself, oh, that bit in the trailer's already done. Oh, that bit in the trailer's already done.
I literally thought she was going to go up a mountain at some point, but he had to go on a quest up a mountain. Yes. It's like, no, that wasn't a mountain at all.
Up a mountain.
Yeah. No. And fight a massive three-headed dog.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. I tried not to say that.
Yeah, but it's like it is really surprising, and I think it's a beautiful paced film in that the emotional moments happen, I think, somewhere in the middle, so that then there's an entire half of the film for her to get to the other side of it.
Yeah.
It's not just right at the end where she wins, big win at the end, and I think there's a real journey in that story. I thought it was great.
And even with those, I'm thinking back now, even without those goosebumps from the songs, I got those goosebumps from the plot and from
Yeah.
the some of what happens. I'm trying to remember now because it's been a week. It's been a while. But some of the stuff
It's
that
been a week
happens.
and you've already seen 15 other things.
Yeah, but there's some stuff that happens right before the big things that happen, and you're like, oh, and it's very emotional. Like I was, very
like the stuff between Mirabelle and her grandmother, where it felt harsh, but
even
then
the
it
stuff
sort of
between Mirabelle and her
recovered.
sister,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
like it's so commonplace in every family. There's always one relationship like that I think anyone can relate.
Yeah, but she is a bitch. Oh my god.
All right. Encanto is
wait,
now.
did
wait,
you guys
oh,
did you
what
get
did
the
we
short
forget?
beforehand?
Yes.
Yeah,
You can't
Loved the short.
we can't
great shot.
can't talk about those raccoons without, it was great.
Absolutely loved the short. Also, one thing that's I love about these shots that they've started doing is I'm liking more and more the hand drawn ones because it's so rare that
You
we
don't see it
actually get
anymore.
to see it. Yeah, actually, I mean it might all still be computer, but it's made. To
No,
look
it's
hand-drawn.
it's 2D. It's traditional 2D animation. Yeah, but it's
Perfect.
It's delightful looking. It's really sweet. It's got a nice message to it that ties in with the movie. It's nice the way it pairs.
Yes.
It's a delicious wine pairing with your salmon fricassee or whatever the hell you're eating.
It's called Far from the Tree. Am I right?
Far from the tree, and it looks like raccoons from the Fox and the Hound. Like they look like they literally walked out of the Fox and the Hound, right?
Yeah.
So that was me instantly, and it's like inner 8-year-old unleashed. It's like the lock and key thing. They just found the key to instantly. It's the Fox and the Hound. No one ever talks about the Fox and the Hound, but Fox and the
The
Hound's great.
director of Far from the Tree, and her name just completely slips my mind right now. But the director of the shot is also a comic book artist, and I think I've read some of the stuff she's done because I think she's done some Red Sonja stories. And
what?
I have some of those on
Gail?
Comixology.
No, it's not Gail.
It'll come back to me.
There's
But
also
yeah,
a
so
book
she's-
called Far from the Tree about teaching your kids stuff, and like also that screws up any search you're going to have for. Oh no, there it is.
Oh wow.
Far from the Tree, Curiosity Young Raccoon. Yeah, the other one is some other. There's a live action movie that's different. Natalie Nourigat.
Yes, I think it's Natalie Nourigat. But yeah, she's a comic book artist as well.
I moved to Los Angeles to work in animation and Between the Gears, autobiographical comics.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, go check out Encanto. It is now screening in cinemas. You can't take your kids, but it's definitely worth watching, even by yourselves.
Also,
if you need a grown-up night out.
There was, I mean, and for kids as well. I think there's something. Did you see the news about Fox and Disney are splitting some of the Fox stuff? So, so HBO is splitting some
HBO.
stuff.
Some are
So
ending up on HBO.
HBO Max, maybe Go will get Runs Gone Wrong sometime in December.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, is that so?
So if it comes to
there's a
Go,
weird split. Yeah.
keep an eye out for that. Listen to the podcast. There's going to be links galore in the show notes for this show. Last week's Bond, Ron's Gone Wrong. It's all good.
Cool. All right. Moving on to our next big release of the week. We're going to be talking about Get Back, which is an epic 8-hour documentary, or almost 8-hour documentary from Peter Jackson. It is actually a reissue of the classic Beatles film from 1970, which was directed by Michael Lindsay Hogg. That was called Let It Be. And it was this 80-minute avant-garde fly-on-the-wall documentary that kind of chronicled the Beatles' recording of what would be their final album. Of course, they didn't know it was going to be their final album at the time. But the movie, when it was released in 1970, it was released after a week after... it was released a week after the Beatles had broken up. And because it was released after a week... because it was released a week after the Beatles had broken up, it was kind of viewed with a very different lens. Everyone kind of saw it as this grim, gloomy, miserable work. And they started reading into a lot of things. Like, every glance was looked at as, oh, look, they hate each other, maybe. It had a theatrical release. I think it was released on VHS, and then after that, it kind of was never seen again, except on bootleg copies.
Which is where you guys saw it, is it? Because you both have seen it.
Yeah, we both
Yeah.
have. I mean, I had a bootleg VHS way back in the day, and I think a lot of people growing up in the 80s and 90s may have only ever seen it on a bootleg copy. So enter Peter Jackson, who has been, I guess, afforded access to 60 hours of unseen footage, 140 hours of audio. And essentially, what he's done is he's kind of put together a version of this documentary. He didn't remake the Michael Lindsay Hogg production. He kind of used all of that footage to cut an entirely new film, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting is that you hardly see any of that original film in this one. There are very few crossover moments.
I think there was an interview with Peter Jackson where he said there isn't a single frame that's come through.
Is that for legal reasons?
Something like that. No, I just think he just never went there.
Yeah, and I think partly also out of respect for Michael Lindsay Hogg, right? I mean, it's always tricky ground when you go in and re-edit and reframe another director's work.
Yeah.
But also, Michael Lindsay Hogg had this thing shot from 9 different angles and loads of different cameras and
in the days of film.
In the days of film,
yeah.
In the days of film, Michael.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to repeat anything actually. So what we got is this 8-hour documentary, still very much fly on the wall. But what Peter Jackson has done that is different from the original is that he's added a kind of narrative to it. And what he's done with that narrative is there's no VO or anything. He's just added text boxes and title cards, which kind of explain and give you some context as to what is going on, which makes all of the difference because if you've seen the original, it is really fucking verite.
Yeah.
Right? And I cried. I was so happy watching this thing because I have never ever seen the Beatles in this way at their prime. It is high definition. It has been restored to within an inch of its life. The film looks beautiful. I had to keep reminding myself that these weren't actors doing fucking reenactments. I was completely blown away by what I was seeing. If it isn't obvious, I'm a very big Beatles fan. So this is just made my whole month.
Yeah, they're all right.
They had some good tunes.
They're good tunes, but this is the greatest reality TV show of all time.
Right. Yeah.
This is like you said, you're watching it, and like there's a point when Linda McCartney turns up and she starts taking photos, and they show you the photos, and maybe it was just Anita still residing in the back of my skull. I was like, oh wow, they really look like them in the photos. It's like, wait, they are them, you idiot. But it does look like it's so insane. It looks like they just have high def GoPros, right? And they're just moving around, as opposed to I've only seen the first one, which is 2 hours 36 minutes long. So do you see the cameras at any point?
Oh, even in the first one, you see them, right?
Don't see any cameras. I didn't see any cameras or camera operators because they would have been 1969.
No, there was one. There was in the opening of the first episode. They cut to the director of photography and I think the cameraman. So just like lining up the camera right at the beginning. But no, you're right. I you
never see them moving around each other.
No, you don't. Yeah,
like you would see like on Top of the Pops when they almost take someone's head off.
Yeah,
at the time.
I don't think this is. I'm wondering. It might be 16mm cameras.
It was 16mm because
16mm, right? Yeah.
One of the problems with the VHS reissue is they try to double it, and when they doubled it and increased the size, it actually made the image even murkier.
Oh,
yeah.
So
which didn't help people's perception of the film.
So has this been "They Shall Not Be Grow Older"? Did they run it through whatever this is for cleaning it up?
I think they did. Yeah.
It was shot in color, so the original wasn't in black and white. So he didn't. I don't know if he colorized anything. He may have enhanced the color. But I think all of that goes a long way to actually showing you the footage in a new light. Because when you're watching the original and you see the grim colors and the faded nature of the film, it adds to the fact that these people just broke up because it feels gloomy, right?
Yeah.
And this one feels bright and vibrant and high fucking definition.
No, but I think for me, we did a quick review of both. Well, not quick review, but we had watched Let It Be, and then we got to watching the first episode of this. As much as my perception of Let It Be has changed in the 20 years that I'd seen it prior, this movie sort of elevates it even more because I really don't see any animosity anymore, right? These are just four guys hanging out playing together, right? There's even the first episode, there's one moment where Paul, I think, is jamming with Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which had I not seen it on film, I would not have believed, because apparently there's so much hatred towards her.
She's just hanging out at the beginning of this and not impacting anybody. And also, she's the only one who understood the assignment to wear continuity clothes until John mentions it later on. She wears the same clothes most of the time. Everyone else is just doing their own thing. But it's insane how normal these guys are. Like, it's like no one's rushing them. It's interesting they talk about, Mr. Epstein, even as the biggest band in the fucking
daddy
world.
At one point as well,
Yeah, we need a daddy. I mean, it's group dynamics that it's insane that at this point they hadn't figured that out.
Yeah.
Like, they were still, I mean, then again, Nolan and Liam still fucking hate each other, so it's like, I guess you never, there's no HR departments in bands. Apparently Brian Epstein was the HR department.
Yes.
Who
But
would just sort out.
You say they're normal guys, but then there's that moment in the first episode when Paul knocks out Get Back.
Yeah,
and
that was something. Before that, it was taking me a while to get into it because it's choppy, it's moving around, and then I started noticing that it says at the beginning, in all aspects we have tried to be accurate, is it, or something along those lines? It's certain phraseology that I missed the all at some point. I thought, like, that's weird, and then I was like, well, reread it. I was like, so what it means is at certain points they're inserting scenes or they're inserting footage of the back of Paul's head when he's talking, and it's a slightly different moment, but they don't have footage for that section, but they do have the audio. I think it's only in the second episode where they actually have to put in text because it's a conversation that was only recorded on audio.
Oh, I see.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen the second episode yet, Perry?
I haven't gone to the second episode.
Yeah, I was so enamored with the first, even after watching 2.5 hours of it in a rush today. I put on the second one when I had a thing fall through, so I started watching the second one. And there is a scene where it's literally just text on screen in a kitchen because they don't have any video for that. But
this was the meeting they had.
No, it's just a conversation between Paul and John. But
Okay.
I'm watching it, and there's an element of, and I hate it when they don't show the there's just the magic comes to them and they just come to songs. It's like some of them they bring some songs to this very clearly. They have to hammer out 14 songs in 14 days, and you don't quite get that from the start. I'm thinking like, we should explain a little bit of that or whatever. But then they're waiting for John. That's what it is. John's late again, and he starts playing on the bass and slapping his foot around, and you can hear Get Back slowly, slowly coming to life.
I've got goosebumps just thinking about it again. It's crazy.
And then we all use, I guess it's what you're talking about. I've never seen Let It Be, but I guess what you're talking about there with all the animosity you see in that. John arrives late, just picks up a guitar, sits down, and just plays with them. It just picks up immediately. That could be the genius of editing, could just be the genius of the Beatles, but it is magical.
Yeah. And there are so many moments of that genius, right? Get Back aside, when you're watching a song evolve. And for me, that is the kind of process that I think in my review, I talk about how it's one of those moments where you just had to be there. And thank God we afforded that opportunity to be there, because it's something you can't explain. Like, you can write it. And I've read these books about the Beatles and they talk about their process. And it's not the same as watching them.
Yeah. And not only that, watching them almost fuck up Don't Let Me Down.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like they have these extra echoey choruses or extra echoey, I don't know I forget what the musical term is, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to call it effortless because they're working hard. There's effort there.
They're working 8 days a week. Sorry.
Yay. But also it is bolstered by that genius, right? It's the fact that from the whatever is translating what's in their brain to their hands and their mouths is something that we need to see to believe.
And I think that was the difference between, for me, that was one of the major differences between Let It Be and Get Back, was that in Let It Be, it felt like they were rehearsing for a show. Like they've already written the songs, they were just fine-tuning it, right? Whereas here, there were moments where, like, I think they were playing Let It Be. Obviously, they find, Paul finds Get Back. Maxwell Silver Hammer, they were still writing the lyrics as they were going along.
The hammer. They bring in the hammer in the anvil.
The hammer, I don't know. And it's just like, so there were.
Can you bring your hammer enough
right, Ian.
lunch?
There were tweaks to it, right? They were still, the songs were not perfect. They had inklings, they had ideas.
And no one, it's the same. The thing I was thinking about is like, U2 is a dumb fucking name when you think about it for a band, but now they're U2, it's fine. Same with the Beatles.
that's true.
The Beatles is
the
no
Beatles.
better than the Quarrymen for whatever reason they changed it. It's because they're the fucking Beatles, motherfucker. And it's the same with like Maxwell Silverhammer. What are you on? But it works really well. And just, it's not that, I think it ties into that thing that someone great once said, is that like, you never finish a great work, you just abandon it. And there is that element of, this is good enough. And I'm only seeing the first one in a bit, but there is that element of, it seems to be, from what discussion the second one is, that like Paul has his idea of what the Beatles should be and George has his other idea of what the Beatles should be. John Lennon kind of backs up Paul most of the time and wanders around and doesn't want to get involved the rest of the time, and that's led to the breach in the band. So even with the biggest band in the world, even with the only three people in the world who understand the experience of being at the center of Beatlemania, it's still hard to get on with them.
And also, it's interesting how, I guess, time and nostalgia cloud even their own memories of this, right? Because when you listen to or read about the interviews that George, Ringo, and Paul have done following this, many years after the breakup, they saw the film in the same light. And then when you look at what Peter Jackson showed them, and Paul McCartney said it completely forced him to reassess that moment because his memories were so jumbled up with the release of the film, right? Exactly. And when you're watching this, you can understand why. There's this 30-second moment in Let It Be that got all the press, right? It's that bit between Paul McCartney and George Harrison when they seemingly have a disagreement over how to play a certain tune. And in the
This is the first episode, right?
It's in the first episode, yeah. And in the original Let It Be, if you look at old reviews, that's almost the only thing anyone's ever talking about. And it's 30 seconds. You can barely hear it. Meanwhile, in the first episode of this reissue, we get to see how that conversation begins and ends. And it doesn't feel like a conflict. It feels more like the kind of creative disputes that collaborators have.
If you listen very carefully, you can hear the straw breaking the camel's back for George Harrison. Like it's not even fuck you and fuck your band, I'm out of here. It's not Father Ted. Just play the fucking note. It's not even that. It's literally just, can you just do it this way? And it is it fucking is the Father Ted thing. It is. You just go dee, and George is like, well, do you want to do the dee or do you want to get the basics down now and I'll do my stuff later? I'll just play the chords. He says at one point, I'll just play the chords, man. We'll just get the basic. We'll just get until we get the song right, and then I'll figure out my cool shit later. Because you're not. That's it.
But there's an end to that conversation that you don't hear in the first one, in which after George goes, "Oh, I'll just play whatever you want, man, if it'll make it happy."
But that's like, but I think I was
George
watching that.
Goes,
you're watching that thing
you
like,
don't know what you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Paul
it's like
doesn't know what he wants.
I'll just play whatever you want. It sounds so nice coming from George Harrison, but actually, he's being the most passive aggressive motherfucker in the world at that particular moment. I mean, I love George Harrison; he's fantastic. But he's not getting his due in these meetings like with the rest of the band.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of his problem with it, right? Like that's kind of where episode 1 ends, in that he always feels like he's up against two people. And I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Umar, this is that point where George Harrison's really starting to find his feet as a songwriter, really starting to become a more accomplished songwriter, right? I think he wants to sort of contribute more, but because he's up against probably some of the best songwriters in the world in Paul McCartney and John Lennon.
Also, but it's not even the quality, because like they're dashing these songs off. It's not like they think. I remember I was listening to. It reminded me, the Get Back thing reminded me of, I think it was an interview with Fran Healy from Travis with Adam Buxton podcast, and he's talking about, you don't want to see how we write songs. Like it's literally when we're writing Sing or whatever, you're playing some chords, it sounds nice, and then you start making mouth sounds. It's like and it's exactly what he does. So it's not like you're writing Get Back. You know what I mean? It's like we have 14 songs to learn in 14 days, but I think it's more the dynamic that you see that, where it's like John is like, he's not. Yeah. He's not picking sides. And Paul's halfway on it. Like he says, we had Daddy around, we had Epstein. We don't have any discipline. Yeah. And that's the problem. Because even when they sit down, they just start screwing around. Like they don't. At no point did they say, all right, here's song 1 or here's whatever. They're literally, I guess, I thought it was chaos in the editing suite. I guess it's just chaos in the recording studio. That's what they were like.
Yeah.
They were just
But
like some
also,
guys
I
having
think-
fun, and then we're like,
Yeah.
after they were so big straight away, or not straight away, it was after a little while, right? After Hamburg and everything. But after that, it's like, oh, yeah, everything they touched turned to gold for how many years?
Almost 6-7 years, I think.
Yeah.
They only broke up.
And I-
No, almost a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they only broke
Yeah.
up in 1970.
And I think the other thing as well is that these were not recording sessions; they were rehearsals
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the show. So
They were rehearsing for a
what
show where they were going to play an album they hadn't written yet.
they hadn't written.
That's right.
Yes, yeah. So I think when that text comes up, the sort of the producer in me goes, that's like rehearsing for a movie you haven't written a script for. That's mental.
That's not even that. That's actually rolling film on the movie. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
But-
You're not even rehearsing. Yes, you're rolling. Yeah.
But there's
It
this.
just feels scary. Yeah.
There's so many beautiful moments. Like, again, this is the reality TV-ness of it all. That like, I keep forgetting his name. Michael Lindsay Hogg. When you say like the movie that he had was very different, I think it's because throughout this he makes bad. He's always talking about bad decisions. For the God's sake, we're not going to Libya. Just leave it out. Stop bringing it up. But also,
Just
I don't.
imagine, Ian, all those Arabs.
And
Just imagine Arabs and our friends. Just go like, what the shit?
like, but there's that. There's also
Just would
there's
not
all,
let that go.
I'm slightly concerned. I'm not slightly concerned, but I'm slightly thinking that like they actually lost his audio because it sounds like Edgar Wright is dubbing his audio. Did you notice that? I was like, who is that? It's like it sounds like Edgar Wright. But there's little moments like George Harrison. Like if a Beatle tells you the microphone is electrocuting them, you believe them. You don't want to be responsible for killing a Beatle. They're all like, what are you doing? What's this? No, I don't get it. No, do it like this. It's like, oh, there it is. Yeah. It took you 4 or 5 goes. George Harrison got shocked twice trying to explain to you
That's great.
there's something fucking wrong. There's
great.
there's
Yeah.
also like throughout this, there's weird things like the Beatles accidentally, at one point, I think Paul accidentally invents Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads. There's like a dun 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 dun, and he just ignores it and moves on. They invent Club Med or they invent Celebrity Cruises and then think it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Also, can we just mention the elephant in the room?
Which
Not
one?
an elephant, but can we talk about the Hare Krishna in the room?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The Hare Krishna in the room, right?
Does he
At
do
first,
anything?
I
Does he?
thought it
Is
was-
he
at
like?
first
Is
I
that
thought
like?
it was
Sorry, is
Lennon's
that?
Hare Krishna? But
is
no,
that-
it's
No.
George's Hare
Yeah.
It's
Krishna.
George's Hare Krishna.
But also,
Yeah.
but the thing is it Chekhov's Hare Krishna? Does he commit a murder in the third act?
Does he come back?
Is that him outside? What was that? It was a motorbike.
I know, but here's the thing, right? Like none of that is in Let It Be.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
sure,
it isn't.
it would have been pointless to show this random guy there who doesn't. But at the same time, when
No,
you
but
have,
I think it's all
it
context,
adds
right?
colour,
Because
right? It
exactly,
adds the moment,
and
yeah.
it paints a picture of who the Beatles were. Because yes, they'd gone to Rishikesh and they had spent some time
Yeah.
meditating in India.
And even then,
they
on the
had
second,
done
at the
all
beginning,
of this stuff.
they did all this stuff and like they'd gone to India, they'd had an awakening, their music had gotten more complicated, and as John says at one point, make it a bit psychedelic, man. And that's not John at all. I wondering what was doing there. But then,
That's
like
not bad.
in the second episode, they're like sitting around waiting to see if John's going to turn up because George is gone. And someone asked Ringo, "So did you enjoy India?" And he's like, "Not really." He's just
Also, there was just I can't believe that there was a semi-serious discussion about replacing George Harrison with Eric Clapton.
That
think-
was hilarious.
I think that's kind of
That
jokey,
was
but it's not
great.
because it led from him talking before about like.
Yeah.
George wants to noodle. Like he wants to, there's a little bit of like space for improvisation. And Paul keeps saying that's jazz. And he doesn't mean like, that's fucking jazz. It's like, that's jazz. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not, and he says, it's not jazz. It's Eric.
Yeah.
There's a whole load of lines in this that are just exquisite.
And all of which you could not hear in the original version.
Oh,
As
really?
in, yeah, the audio was so bad that you had to strain to listen to the conversations, and here everything is crystal clear.
Well,
And
I
the
think-
restoration is, I think, the restoration work that Peter Jackson has done.
Oh no. Yeah. That's.
And we've seen it in They Shall Not Grow Old.
They should not grow old. I mean, once he does that, I'm like, look, you can
It's
do anything.
it's
you want after
magical,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But for me, a big difference is that I think it's something that you said earlier, Uma, and I think you've written in our reviews as well. Is that Michael Lindsay Hogg had probably 4 or 5 guys hovering over him as he
Oh, he
tried to
did.
edit
I
the
think he's
first film,
admitted
right?
as much, including 3 of the Beatles, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think, and he was given a runtime. He had to hit 88 minutes, 80 minutes, I think, or something.
But even at the time, social media, reality TV wasn't the thing. The idea of spending that long with anybody. There's a point where they talk about George is inspired by a TV show on BBC and the proms afterwards. That was all probably live. There's probably they have footage of that, but there might be. That's around the time of those. Is it Pertwee era Doctor Who's where they were shot and filmed and broadcast live, and there's no footage. There's nothing left.
Right.
Like a TV show is 25 minutes long because that's how long the actors could remember the lines for.
Yeah.
So it's a very different time to be putting something together and to be putting something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think also it's just that I mean, 60 hours and you end up with 88 minutes. I think a lot ended up on the cutting room floor. I think at that point there was probably more film on the floor than actual floor. But I think he had to make some decisions, right? I think it's easy 30 years, 50 years, 60 years later to go back and see, especially knowing now what Peter Jackson had to work with, to go back and go, why did Michael Lindsay Hogg do that? Why didn't he put that in? Why did he leave stuff out? It's revisionist history doesn't work that way. I think Peter Jackson's version is a version only someone like Peter Jackson could do. You have to love the band. You have to be an accomplished director. You have to respect the work. You have to respect the art. To pull together 8 hours out of 80, 60 hours worth of footage.
You need to love that, or else you need to be married to George Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The editor.
But you also need hindsight, though, and I think Michael Lindsay Hogg could not have done this movie at that time because I think 50 years on, when we look back and all of the things we have learned since and what we understand about the Beatles, I think all of that goes into the production of this film, how Peter Jackson reviews the footage, how he reframes it.
Yeah.
I think all of that comes with the benefit of hindsight. And that's why this movie can only exist now.
Yeah. And I think that decision by Peter Jackson, I think that decision to give it structure, a narrative structure. There's a timeline.
There needs to be directorial and authorial intent. It has to happen. If not, it's not. If not, it's a mess, right?
If not, then you get let it be, right? You get this 80 minutes worth of jumble of footage, and suddenly they're at the end performing on the stage on the rooftop. It's just, how did we get here? Why are we here? Doesn't matter. This is the movie. End.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I could feel that authorial intent come through when there's a 10-minute recap of the Beatles, which I guess you have to do. It was a long time ago. People must not know. During that 10-minute, you're figuring what are the key moments in the history of the Beatles that you absolutely have to cover.
Must hit.
And they have my favorite scene from A Hard Day's Night where they're in the train. They say, "Who's the little old man?" "Oh, it's my uncle. He's very clean, isn't he?"
Grandfather.
Grandfather.
My grandfather.
I love that scene.
Very
The
clean.
clean little old man. Love that. That's always stuck out. Even the other moment, as Ringo comes in, I think it's on the Monday morning. He says, "I will not lie. I'm not well at all." It's just there's lines in here that you can't write. They're so good.
Also, the time crunch they're under is because Ringo Starr has to go act in a movie.
The Magic
Not
Christian.
Paul, not John has got other things. No, Ringo, the one that everybody makes fun of all the time. He's the one putting the time crunch on the band.
It's a great script.
Yeah. I can't. I mean, it's Peter Sellers. I've heard it's very, very good. It's been referenced in Grant Morrison's The Invisibles. I've never actually watched it. I think I have a copy somewhere lying around the place.
Oh, really?
It's like that other. What's that one of the last Peter Sellers movies he did, Being There. That's also supposed to be very good as well. But that's a different thing. Blank now. What was the other thing? There was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah. George Harrison hates chairs. What's that all about? You notice that? Everyone's sitting in chairs. He insists on sitting on like the edge of the drum kit. And then they just keep bringing over cushions to him. Maybe that's part of what's wrong with him. He's got a sore back. He's not sitting correctly.
He's just cool, man. Chairs are for losers.
Also, maybe.
I was watching this and I was thinking to myself, okay, this is going to be a hard sell for anyone who isn't a fan of the Beatles because of its length. However, I also think it's a must-watch for anyone who likes film or history
or music.
Because whether or not you're a fan of the Beatles, because I think this is one of those rare instances where we actually get new information on something that we thought we had all the information to.
And it's a primary source coming directly from their mouths.
Exactly. And that's
And
the rarity. That's like getting a confession from Lee Harvey Oswald, right? I mean, like, we've closed the book on JFK for the most part, but
Oliver Stone's still working away on it.
Yeah, we're
he is.
always
I think there's a
waiting
new one
for
coming
new
up.
information.
Yeah.
And I think it's very rare when this happens.
No, but I think this takes that. Remember when you watched McCartney 3-2-1, 1-2-3
Yeah.
McCartney or something? Yeah. I think this one does more because in that one he's looking back about how he wrote these songs. Here you're watching these songs happen.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's still
You're
rooted in memory, which can be flawed.
And I think, and not only that,
They don't
but
even.
like,
That's the thing. Like, it's flawed. They have someone else write down the fucking words. Like, they don't. They don't have it. They have the cameras going. We don't really see them set up the 8-track, but there is recording is happening. It's just not in your face. But
Yeah.
still, they're not like. I'm gonna write that down. I gotta. Don't let me down. Okay, write that bit down. You know, they're not doing that.
You don't want to break
Don't
the
interrupt
flow, right?
the genius.
Yeah.
I
So
guess.
you get the road manager to write it down. He's got a pencil. Yeah. Oh, it's great. Loved it.
Yeah, but no, but just going back to that idea of primary sources, because that was exactly what he did was They Shall Not Grow Old, because yet again we thought we knew everything we knew about World War One, but suddenly watching this movie, you realize that you knew so little about how these soldiers on the field lived their lives, and we had a front row seat watching them brush their teeth and eat their food and do all of that stuff, and it was. You know, whether there was joy or sadness in their faces, it was never before seen. It painted the whole world in a new light.
And I just want to say, I think They Shall Not Grow Old is like one of my favorite docs of the last couple of years. I think.
Agreed.
And I think it's just to show Peter Jackson's, what's the word I'm looking for, attention to detail. You know, it's things like he would bring in lip readers to look at the footage and write down what they were saying in the footage because obviously they had no audio, right? He went to the British Imperial Museum and got authentic machinery and weaponry and of World War One, so he could record sounds. So he could play it in the documentary. And I think when you hear a guy who's willing to go through all that trouble who's going to put together an 8-hour documentary on this one session with the Beatles, you go, yeah, this guy's gonna be fine. We're not. He's not gonna fluff it. He's not gonna pull any shortcuts.
You have to watch this. This is your next great watch. It is definitely worth the time commitment. It is available on Disney Plus Hotstar. All 3 episodes will be out by Saturday because they're releasing it 3 consecutive days: Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Beatles Get Back, and
don't try and save it for Sunday. It's 8 hours long.
Right, break it up. I mean,
break it up.
To be fair, it's structured in that way as well. Part 1 ends on a note. Part 2 ends on a note. Part 3, I'm assuming, ends on a note. So it's not made to be binge watched. It's made to be savored, contemplated, and talked about. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. The Beatles Get Back, now streaming on Disney Plus Hotstar. Yeah, this is one of the best things I've seen all year. I'm just so happy it exists. Forget Lord of the Rings. That was great. This
Christmas
thing
comes
is
early.
Work of genius, right?
And also the fact that this was supposed to be feature length first, and then Peter Jackson went, no, I've got an 8-hour director.
Well, he has form doing that. He keeps turning things into trilogies. They wanted one Lord of the Rings movie. He gave them 3. He wanted one Hobbit movie. He ended up doing 3.
You only have enough information in that book for one movie. It's a small book.
Oh, I know. That was the time it broke bad. That was the wrong choice in that.
That was the wrong move.
He was forced to do it, but he does turn things into trees.
Yes. Yeah. This was the right move, though. Yeah. Check it out. Let us know what you think when you do. You know how to get in touch. All of our social media feeds are on Goggler MY. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my, and the Goggler hotline. WhatsApp us on 012-524-5208. To wrap up the podcast, we're going to be talking about Hawkeye, which is yet another MCU series on Disney Plus. This one stars Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld and Vera Farmiga, and we finally find out what happened to Hawkeye after Avengers Endgame. It's
You say that like we're hanging around, like holding our breath, waiting.
That
It's
was
like,
the question we all wanted to know.
you don't be insulting to Hawkeye, man. He's more than just a guy with bows and arrows.
yeah, I'll give him that. I'll give you that.
I'll give you, yeah. But this one is, I want to say, loosely inspired by the comic book by Matt Fraction and David Aja. Because, and I say loosely inspired because it feels like they've taken the visuals from the comic book and the style of the comic book, but the story is still very rooted in the events of the MCU, like what
Well, it
they've
has
done
to
with
be.
almost
They can't-
everything else, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is like it's like you remember when Photon went through the hex to get inside and was somehow changed. She pushed slowly through the Wanda field, right? That's the same
Rambo.
when you take a comic book and you like shove it into the MCU. It's like a weird quantum shredder, and where things are moved around and different things happen. So
Correct.
you know, the David Aja and Matt Fraction comic, you know, Kate and Hawkeye had a relationship going back decades in comics because they'd been around, and comics are weird and they just do shit. Whereas in this is like, we have to introduce you. So things like, you know, Clint's apartment in the book, it makes more sense to work as Kate's kind of hidey hole in the book,
It
in
does.
the movie.
Yeah,
Right? Little
it
changes
does.
like that. That makes sense.
And the episode, and we've seen the first two episodes, and the first
Everyone's
two
seen the first two episodes right now.
Oh, it's out already. Yeah, that's right. We had access to the first two episodes, but the embargo only lifted yesterday. But the first two episodes are very much an introduction to Kate's character, because obviously they've got to set up this new character and make her have, right from the outset, a believable relationship with Renner's Clint Barton, right? And we meet Kate when she's a kid in 2012 during the attack on New York. And it's seen from her point of view and perspective, right?
Dear God, did that scene make me feel old?
Yes, it did. You know, she gets caught up, or her apartment, her Midtown Manhattan apartment, her parents' Midtown Manhattan apartment gets caught up in the, I guess, explosions, and she is saved. Her life is saved by Hawkeye. In case you are wondering, what kind of person has Hawkeye as their favorite superhero? It's this kind of person.
He literally has to save your life in the most showy way possible in order for you to have any feelings for the guy whatsoever. Unless you're
like if Aquaman saved you from drowning,
yeah, but if
then you would be like, he's cool. He doesn't just talk to fishes. So from that point on, young Kate Bishop kind of dedicates her life to wanting to protect her family, and I thought that was a very good shorthand to avoid the Mary Sue conversation, because obviously when you meet her again when she's 22, she's been trained as a martial artist, she can fence, she's a great archer, because she spent most of her childhood years training to be an action hero, right?
Yeah.
Which is a great shorthand, and it's a great way to get the story going very, very quickly. It's a lot more of a slow burn, these first two episodes, than some of the previous, I guess, Marvel shows and even movies, because a lot of these episodes, for me, it felt very much like a Lethal Weapon, where it takes 20 minutes for Riggs and Murtaugh to meet in the movie.
I mean, this is the Kate. This is for the first two episodes. Hawkeye's Kate. This is Kate's show.
It is.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that because I think I enjoyed the characters. I think a lot went into the writing of these characters that made me interested in them. They were engaging, and so both Haley Steinfeld and Jeremy Renner are incredibly watchable. And so I didn't mind that it was just building up this mentor-mentee relationship, which I really enjoyed.
I thought for the first few scenes, it did seem like Jeremy Renner didn't want to be there, but that's also, I guess, the character. So I think it was okay. He got into it after a while once a plot happened. But at first, it was like, I felt maybe it's just the kids. He felt weird with the kids, I think, at first.
Right. Did you think that was the point though? Because for me, it felt like watching those first bits with the kids, and even his conversation with his wife in the second episode, it felt like he was going for the "I'm really trying to make up for lost time" thing.
Yeah, I think he was trying too hard in the first episode retrospectively, but at the time watching it, you're just like, man, Renner's bad at this. It seemed like that. But it looks like in the end, like when he has that cue call with Linda Cardellini, and like she is the Bonnie to his Clyde. She's like, "Oh, they're going to do this thing and this thing." Like they're talking tactics, and I was like, "That's what I want to see. That's great.
Yeah,
That's cool." Because
Yeah.
the comic has all these like I think you talked about in your review, it reinvented Clint as like a useful member of S.H.I.E.L.D. undercover, you know, and there's the stuff that we did I did 10 Things I Want to See, is where he also is good with everything, not just bows and arrows is the handiest
Right.
thing to
He's MacGyver.
weaponize, but, you know, he
Yeah.
hasn't done the throwing cards yet, but we'll see. And there's a little bit of that where he's going to do, you know, an old Nat trick when it comes to catching and figuring out who the bad guys are, the old catch and release trick, you know. There's tactics behind it. He's not just a guy with a bow. He is an former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., not those ones. And he's a man with a certain set of skills.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things I really liked was, and I think it's something you guys mentioned already, is it's the relationship he has with his wife. This isn't something he's hiding from her.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's easy to just do I got caught up with some business, I'll be back a little later. I think, you know, and it works in the relationship because she knows who he is. He's brought work home in a previous film where they've all visited them on the farm. I think doing that shows that it's a different kind of story. It's not it's not the straight up, you know, or he's having an adventure on his own trying to hide it from his wife kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Hawkeye, this series, is that I enjoyed it. I just don't know what to say about it. You know, it's like WandaVision hits you in the face like a truck. You know, Loki opens strong and big, and here you're just going like, this is fun. And I agree with your review, Uma, that it's nice to see a low level superhero. Yeah, street level superhero story going, because it's just nice to not have to worry about how it connects to the wider world of everything. But it's fun. It's great. I enjoyed it. But like, I don't know what else to say. Like, they're all great. The dog's awesome.
You see, but here your problem is branding. People don't want that cynical coon thing anymore. They want sincerity.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. And for me, I think watching this, I'm a bit. I'm not fed up.
No,
I'm just
sorry,
a bit tired with the whole, with the never-ending story of the MCU.
No, you're right. Yeah, I agree.
And even when I'm reading comics, and I don't know if it's a function of age, but when I'm reading comics, I'm so happy when an arc comes to an end, or I'm so happy when I find out, hey, this series is only 6 issues long.
That's why
because there is an end, right?
That's why I don't buy ongoing comics anymore. I only buy later when I've heard this run is good because I can read it and move on with my life. It's like,
right?
And I think,
but Hawkeye for me, but Hawkeye feels like that for me, because with everything else, even especially with WandaVision, especially with Loki, even with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it was all
big social stuff,
and I don't mean this in a bad way,
movies,
but it means something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure this means something as well, but the metaphor is slightly more direct, right? It's atoning for past sins. It's trying to be a good dad. It's very, yet again, those problems are very human problems. They're not making half of the universe disappear problems.
I think for me, I need to see the villain. I don't know where the story is yet. You know what I mean? Like, I think the first 2 episodes, again, great introduction to Kate Bishop. Enjoyed that. I just need to see. I want to know where the story goes, and I think for a limited, was it 6 episodes?
Yeah, that's the weird thing. We've seen 2.
Yeah,
there's 4 left.
Spent 2. To spend 2 on this, it just feels like how fast are you going to get to that next point?
Because the stakes so far is that, like, Kate wore an old Hawkeye costume and everyone's after her, and they know it's her. Like, at some point, did you wear the mask? I wore the mask like a pro. It's like, hello, Kate Bishop, bro. We come for you.
Yeah.
Gotta say that if you have at the end of that last episode, I think there's like when he's like talking to you. There's an element there where I want the show to go. They've done the setup now. It's just not. It's gonna be quick fire round from now on out. Where it's like, can I talk to your manager, please? Talking to you guys is like talking to furniture.
Yeah.
And then someone falls through the roof and he goes, "Hey boss, I found her, bro." And it's like, I want more of those jokes.
For me, it's the one before that where they were where Hawkeye goes like, "Oh, this is the best you could find," or something, and then he goes, "You know how hard it is to find an abandoned warehouse in New York now?"
No, he's being sarcastic, bro. It's not right.
I love that. Hey, I'm interrogating you, bro. we're intelligent to you. It's great, yeah.
The tracksuit bros are the tracksuit mafia. They're actually the tracksuit mafia. Were they the tracksuit
tracksuit
mafia in the
mafia.
comic? The tracksuit mafia, I think, was a different thing, but it works well.
I think the 6-episode thing might work because, unlike the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it doesn't feel like they're trying to set up 20 different things. And
But they're setting up another spin-off show, right? You know who that was at the end of episode 2?
Yes.
Echo, right?
Yeah.
Echo, yeah.
And so, I know they're setting up another
Sorry,
spin-off
just the
show,
two of you.
but they're not running.
One of you saying Echo and the other one saying it 30 seconds after is just chef's kiss.
There you go.
Brandy.
We didn't even plan it; just happens. Magic. No, but with the Falcon and Winter Soldier, they were trying to set up so many things with Agent 13 and this political stuff and the race stuff, and it felt like
Captain
they
America.
were moving through all of that stuff so quickly. Meanwhile, if this ends up being this buddy comedy caper, without 100 different sub stories, I think you can pull it off in 6 episodes, because 6 episodes, about 40 minutes each. We've just seen Act 1. The next 2 episodes are going to be Act 2, and the last 2 episodes will be Act 3 of what would be.
They're
a
doing
very
one a
long
week from
film,
now on, though,
right?
right? From now on,
it is one a week from now on, yeah. And I think that could work. I think it just depends how much ambition they have with the story.
And I mean, I think the current painted villain looks like within Kate's, let's say, immediate life. We'll talk around it a bit, but I think the current villain there, I think, is a red herring. He's too.
I think so too.
They're so obvious, and I think in my 10 things I'd like to see, I think that there's another character close to home who's being not cagey, but a little weird about things, and is like hinting there's more going on.
Right.
At that auction, did you notice they were after the watch, right?
Yes.
Yes, they were after the
Avengers
watch.
Tower watch. Yeah.
What was the watch?
I
Whose
don't
watch?
know.
Yeah.
What was that? Remember when Tony had the one glove when they were trying to take down the Winter Soldier in...
Yes, when he shoots him and he's like...
Yeah, but he only has one hand, right?
Yes.
Did that come from a watch?
I think it came from a
Oh,
band.
I can't remember.
Was it a
It was like
band,
a
was
watch,
it?
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, because it was this...
He was wearing one of those man bracelets.
Yeah. Oh,
that the
he
hipsters
was.
so enjoy.
Wasn't that actually a tie-in? Wasn't there some like fitness tracker
Oh, God,
thing?
was
I think
there?
there might have been.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
no, I
God.
think you could
Of
buy that
course
actually.
there
So,
was.
No, but I think in this one there was a close up of the watch, and it looked like a fairly sort of like
standard
old
watch.
timepiece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. So
But
we'll see. It's interesting. Yeah.
it's got to be something why they want it, bro.
Yeah. Also, I mean, there's also that bit about how Tony having sold off the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, that was
that's quite.
I mean, that was
But that happened
before.
before. Yeah.
That was before
Yeah,
Endgame
I
and
know,
everything.
yeah.
So
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember that. Yeah.
actually, yeah, because they
and-
didn't fully time travel. So once maybe after that was post snap probably first snap. I mean,
Had to be,
Oh, yeah.
'cause-
why have an Avengers Tower when they already had the campus at the end of
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Which is also blown up.
not Civil War? When was the one where they had like Avengers? He almost said assemble. That
That
was Ultron,
was-
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron, the end
Yeah.
of Age of Ultron.
So they had the
Oh.
campus at that point. They didn't need the tower. It's not a good idea to have your base of operations in a major populated
in
area.
the middle of New York, where everyone will attack you and blow things up.
Yeah, or if the Hulk fucking treads on a loose floorboard nail or something.
Also, this is the first series with one of the OG Avengers having to deal with the loss of his best friends. We haven't seen that before, because with everyone else, they've been secondary or spin-off characters, right? And it's nice to see, and I hope they address this some more, because I guess they're hinting at the fact that Hawkeye and Clint hasn't really dealt with Natasha's death or Tony's death, or whether or not Captain America is still alive. We don't know.
Contract
And so-
contract negotiations are underway. Do we have top men on it? Top men.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I think that part of the storyline, I mean, that's what I was waiting for. And I think that's what I meant when I said, oh, we're finally going to see what Hawkeye's been up to, because I think he's the only one from the OG team that doesn't have intergalactic spin-off or sequel, right? Hulk's probably going to be in the Captain Marvel stuff. Thor's out with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
Black Panther got his movie before Hawkeye did. Well,
That's
we are skipping over. His friend does make a cameo appearance. I thought I had a slide, but I broke the thing. We got to see Rogers the musical.
Oh my God, that was magic.
Yes.
I don't know if magic's the word I use, but
Oh,
sure.
mate, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Okay,
Apparently,
sorry,
they got
jump-
Mark Shaman to write the music for it.
Who's Mark Shaman?
Can I?
Is it Mark Shaman? The famous composer.
Name 7 things he's composed.
Sister Act.
Okay, that'll do. That's 4 on the list. That's good.
No, can I just say one thing? You know how we were talking about how I can't remember any songs from Encanto?
Yeah.
I can do this all day.
Yes.
Right.
Like
You're like
that's
it's like that Simpsons quote. It both sucks and blows. Like it's terrible, but it's added an extra. It's like that in 3 dimensions because it's also great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same. What was it? Hawkeye hit the bullseye. There's no better shot than you. And like,
Yeah.
it's great. And also great.
What was the Hulk one? The magic word? No, Hulk.
Hulk, do your
There was a
thing.
line.
Smash. or
Yeah.
something.
Is that out? Is any of that out on Spotify yet? I haven't checked.
Haven't checked.
I doubt.
Okay.
I doubt
Okay.
it would be out.
Well, hang on. This Disney. Yeah, no, there's some Moana stuff. Is everything out there? Like the Encanto's on Spotify, so maybe.
Yeah, it might be. Actually, during the press conference for Hawkeye, Kevin Feige said something interesting, actually, because...
Sorry, hang on. Let me just pick up that name for you that you just dropped.
He was saying that Hawkeye is the last of the OG Avengers to get his own adventure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he also called out the fact that Jeremy Renner was one of the first people to sign on. And he said, we approached Jeremy when this wasn't yet the MCU. And he was, at the time, an Academy Award nominated actor. And he just said, yes, sure, let's do this thing.
Iron Man?
I think it was just after Iron Man. But they were still not, I mean, now whenever you watch one of these press conferences, all the moderators are like to the new people, welcome to the MCU. Like they say it like it's, like, welcome to heaven. You're set for life on these residuals. But yeah, and I think I think there may have been a deal. Like the way it sounded, it made it sound like, yes, ScarJo has her thing. Renner's been promised his own show. We can't do anything with Ruffalo because of Universal, but we're putting him in as many TV shows and movies as we can. And so, yeah, it sounded like that. But I've never read...
But
like,
I mean,
because with the ScarJo thing, there was lots of interviews and promises about, yes, you will definitely have your own movie, etc.
Yeah, but there's literally contractual obligations. Like when they remember when Samuel L. Jackson was like his contractual obligations were up and they renegotiated to get more, and it was the same with Robert Downey Jr. There was questions raised over it. So like,
yes,
they tie these people into them. Like it's not like they had some master plan that we're gonna have a great Hawkeye show. It's that like we're tying him in now in case this shit takes off. What was there something recently where they were like, a show was cancelled because they had to let the options lapse because they were too expensive. Something happened in the last couple of weeks we were talking about, I think. Oh, some aborted version of a TV show and they cancelled. Oh, it was Why The Last Man, right? They decided they didn't want to renew the option to even think about doing a second season. So instead they just let everyone go. They want to pay that money just to have an idea. So you avoid that by saying, we'll give you a little bit of money for this movie. It takes off, you're in for 10 at this rate, okay? Like if you go on to become Captain Kirk's dad or something like that, we're not paying you extra.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Hemsworth. So, we're gonna, when they're talking to fucking Andy from Parks and Rec, they're not like, you're not gonna be a massive star, you schlub. We're gonna get you in shape for Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're gonna go back to mediocrity. What do you mean? What do you mean you're in a Jurassic World movie? What do you mean you're in 3 of them? What do you mean you're the voice of Mario?
What do you mean you're the voice of Garfield?
Yeah. Is he actually the voice of Garfield?
He is going to be the voice of Garfield.
I thought that was a joke.
Oh, no, I think that's real.
Did you see that thing about how he's not doing an Italian accent for Mario?
No.
Oh, yeah, because the internet will go mental.
The statement was that, like, Charlie Day is part, like 1/16 Italian, so that's our cover there.
That's okay. Yeah.
What? No, God, Jesus. Frantically on 23andMe with the whole cast.
Finding some Italian.
You got some Asian blood? Great.
Yeah.
We'll cast you in the next Shang-Chi movie.
This and Rogers the Musical does have an Asian Ant-Man, which would tie nicely. Wait, no, Ryan Choi is the Atom. Wasn't there an Asian Ant-Man as well?
Oh, I can't remember.
Scott Lang.
I can't remember if there's an Asian Ant-Man.
There's an Asian Atom, right?
With my Ant-Man
it is
reading.
the Atom. It's the Atom. It's Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi, right? Ryan Choi is the DC one. Yeah.
Yes, who was in
all those guys who shrink
Justice
look
League.
all those guys who shrink look the same to me. Very, very small.
Also, I really enjoy Vera Farmiga, but she has a terrible wig in the opening of this episode.
Is it a
of
wig?
The first episode. I don't know. It was bad hair.
Oh, this is
But-
the 80s. Sorry, not the 80s, the 2012 one. Might as well be the 80s.
but she's great, and I don't know what they have in store for her, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, well, you don't cast because the other person in her life that like seems like a villain is like, who is this guy? I don't know who he
Exactly.
is. This doesn't. I mean, I don't want to start any rumors, but I don't think he's Mephisto. Do you know what I'm saying?
but also it just feels like a little too obvious for it to be
Yeah,
a villain. Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
laser
yeah.
targeted from space on your nose. You know what I mean? It's like ridiculously on your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. This for me feels like the kind of show that I want to check in on every week.
Yes.
Yeah, and so
If only to see
I-
if Luke Cage and the Charlie Cox turn up.
Oof.
I'm not even hoping for Luke Cage and Charlie Cox in this one. I just want Vincent D'Onofrio. I want Kingpin. That's what I want. If that happens, whew.
Well, I mean,
And of course Florence Pugh, right? Because of what happened
Yeah.
at the end of Black
Yes.
Widow.
It's like
She
it's
should be turning up.
yeah, and there's not an awful lot of time for that tracksuit bros, whatever's going on with Kate's family and everything else. You know, it's weird. Unless they're going to like, you know, whatever the 6 episodes and then there's a Loki thing and then the 6 episodes and Spider-Man comes out and then there's another 12 episodes or something after that.
Maybe.
Oh.
They haven't announced whether it's happening for season 2 yet. They
Well,
might
I
do a
think
little
they
announced
haven't
that
done
it's
that.
a limited series.
They've done that for all of them. Like we only got the Loki announcement after that and the same.
Yeah,
with
only after the last episode. Yeah. So
But yeah,
who
it's
knows?
it's already starting to feel like Christmas when like Clint Barton is saying it's going to be the best Christmas ever, the best Barton Christmas ever. And it's like, have you never seen an episode of EastEnders? You never say that. You never say it's going to be the best Christmas in Albert Square. It's like someone is going to die.
Someone's going to get shot,
Yeah,
end up at the bottom of a well.
someone's going to get like walk in on someone
What?
cheating. Have you not seen British television here? It's
I
miserable.
have, but not
The
EastEnders.
roof is going to collapse on someone. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, but you've seen Doctor Who. David Tennant would said like, "What do you mean? Was it? Don't say what could possibly go wrong. That's like saying it's going to be the best Christmas in Watford ever."
Yeah.
I think that's the exact quote from Doctor Who.
It's the series owes a lot to Shane Black. It also owes a lot to Joss Whedon, I think, because of Age of Ultron. I think the way Joss Whedon set up Hawkeye in Age of Ultron when they were at the farmhouse and we meet his wife and all of that stuff, I think that goes a long way to establishing Hawkeye as a crucial member of the Avengers, right? That whole scene was specifically for the haters, right?
Yeah. And you know who else this series owes a lot to? David Aha. Because there's a lot of that going around. Yeah.
And he's not.
Yeah.
You saw the tweet, right? He said, "Pay me," right? They were like, you know,
Yeah.
He's not even a consultant.
No, because
Yeah.
Matt Fraction is a. This is how I forget. It's Matt Fraction, right? Because for years I thought it was Matt Faction.
Matt Fraction,
Yeah.
yeah.
For years I thought it was Faction, but it's Fraction. He is listed as an executive consultant.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So
yes.
there are elements of that in there where you see like this is a Fraction thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I mean, for me, it's just after having seen it, I haven't read the comic, but I've seen enough images from the comic to know that this feels a lot like that. I mean, the opening sequences looks
like Kate's apartment, for how short you see it, is like what Clint's apartment
Yes.
is in the show.
right.
In the show. Yeah.
And also 6 episodes. That reminds. I thought I had that picture as well. Man, I really screwed up. 6 episodes doesn't give us an awful lot of time for a whole episode on Lucky the Pizza Dog.
I know.
You haven't
Maybe
read
that's
the comic,
bonus episode 7.
so you haven't read the comic at all, Bahir.
I have not read the comic.
You should
at all.
read
It's
the
been-
comic. Like there's literally an
Yeah.
entire issue is from
Yes.
the dog's perspective.
Yeah.
It's all like iconograms and pictographs of like all like the smells he sees and the different people in the building, and like there's a hint given at one point to the identity of a character who you only find out two issues later. That is like I only noticed it when I was like going through it with a fine-tooth comb recently.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like it is insanely good, and there's no way it would survive the TV. But I'd love to see them try.
Oh, yeah. That's a great
So-
dog. though. Yeah.
And like you only see
Yeah.
like certain words for like you only understand certain words, so you only see like pizza. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like my
Yeah.
vocabulary.
Yeah.
Pizza.
Books. What?
Star Wars. Yeah. So Hawkeye, the first 2 episodes are out. We've got another 4 episodes to go that'll drop weekly on Disney Plus Hotstar. We want to know what you think about Hawkeye. Some of you already chatting with us on Instagram and it's a mixed bag. Some people are like, oh, it's too slow and boring. Where's the action?
It's
And
2
some people are like,
episodes.
I know. And some people are like, this is great. This is exactly what Marvel needs. So yeah, keep those thoughts coming in. Goggler MY are all of our social media feeds. Podcast@goggler.my if you're into writing emails. And if you just want to WhatsApp us, we've got the Goggler hotline on 012-524-5208.
Is Moira Brandon anything? Kate's aunt.
Kate's aunt, yeah.
The last name throws me off, so I don't recall the last name from anything.
Yeah, and there's also a movie.
There's lots of Moiras in Marvel.
Yeah, but not recently. Yeah,
not recently. So
and there's a creature
I
from the
don't
Dark
know.
Galaxy. So I'm wondering because they did that whole thing with Wonder Man, right? Wonder Man was this or with the Nathan Fillion thing where he turned up in the background of different things.
Oh yes, that's right.
So I wonder if they're building
in MODOK.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he actually turned up as Wonder Man in that, but that was paying off a joke where he was supposed to be in other things, but they didn't. Like he's in the poster on a wall in some other movie. I think it was a James Gunn thing. But anywho, it's all connected, I guess. Maybe.
Everything is connected. Yeah. So let us know your thoughts on Hawkeye, on the Beatles Get Back, which you must watch. We cannot say it enough. Also on Encanto. You know how to get in touch. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.
I'll see you around the clubs.